We have 4:30.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call our November 25th Board of Directors meeting to order for the Costa Mesa Sanitary District. And if you'll all please rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Vice President Schaefer, do you have some words for us?
Yes, I do. This is a time of year when we give thanks for all we have. So be sure and thank your family, thank all your friends. And I have something I wanted to read to you. I thought it was very good. It said, all things in life are temporary. If going well, it will be the last forever. If going wrong, don't worry, they cannot last either. So with that, I hope you all have a not yet. A happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for coming and bless our board, especially and all its employees too. Amen.
Things okay for things to go wrong. Yeah. I think she's had it. Okay, Madam Clerk, the roll call, please.
Director Brett Eccles,
Here.
Vice Secretary Robert Uten,
Here.
Secretary Arthur Perry,
Here.
Vice President Arlene Schaefer,
Here.
President Mike Schaefer.
Here, thank you.
Thank you.
Late communications,
None, Mr. President.
you have a ceremonial matters.
None, sir.
Public comments, this is the time set aside for persons in the audience to make comments on items within our subject matter jurisdiction, but not on the agenda. Anyone from the public wishing to speak? Seeing no one, will close public comments. And consent calendar, the items to pull from the consent calendar by staff or director. I'll move for approval.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right. We're not online here. Go to the backup. No public hearings. General manager, Scott?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So as you know, the Costa Mesa Sanitary District is joining the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. And that plan identifies potential hazards in the community. And then the plan will also then identify how to mitigate those plans to lessen the impacts on people, property, and the environment if such disaster did occur. Another a benefit for having a hazard mitigation plan is that once the plan is adopted, the district will become eligible to request or at least apply for federal funding from FEMA. And as you know, we're going to be seeking federal funding from FEMA to hopefully fund our Eldon Force Main Redundancy Project, which right now the preliminary estimate is about $10 million. And as you know, our budget, our wastewater budget, $8 million. So clearly not enough money to fund that project. So we are going to need help. So we're hopefully keeping our fingers crossed that FEMA can come through for us and help fund that project. So on August 26th, the board initially really kicked off this program and required staff to seek feedback from the public. And by doing that, once we got your authorization, the first thing we did, we created a page on our website that's dedicated to the plan. So any members of the public can click on that page and find all the information about the plan and why we're doing the plan. We also submitted on that page an online survey link for members of the public who are encouraged to complete, which is also highly recommended by FEMA. In addition, we engaged with the public on social media outlets. And we also had information about the plan in our quarterly newsletter that went out to over 23,000 homes. So the good news is that the draft plan is done along with our annex, CMSD annex, and the plan and CMSD's annex, the district annex is attached to the staff report. What I'd like to do next is invite Vicki Osborne, the Emergency Services Director for REWalk, to tell the board and the public a little bit about the plan. The plan is now available for public comment before we submit it for back to the board for adoption consideration. But for now, I'm going to turn it over to Vicki and she can tell you a little bit about the plan.
Thanks, sir. Great to see you all again. Dr. Schaefer, this will look very familiar too.
Thanks, Vicki. It's a good plan.
It is a good plan, and we're in the home stretch now. So some of you may have seen this presentation a couple times. I try to keep it very consistent. This is the same presentation that I've been doing to different citizen advisory groups, one being yours last week. Also is at El Toro's citizen advisory group also last week. Trying to make sure that we get as many folks as we can to know about the plan and have an opportunity to be part of our planning process. So we have had, this is actually the third revision of the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan for WeRock. And this is the first time that we are very happy to have Costa Mesa Sanitary District be part of it. So one of the reasons why we lead this plan, this is a 15-member agency plan, it's all special districts this time. If you recall, when I came back, I told you that we had to give the boot to the cities because FEMA changed some of their rules, the second revision, and said they had to be part of their individual city plan. So we still provide them information to help them along, but this one's truly about us, the special districts. So the reason we really want to have a hazard mitigation is it really, like General Manager Carroll stated, is that it provides us an opportunity to seek federal funding in different regards, either that being pre-disaster hazard mitigation or post-disaster hazard mitigation. And then also what's known as BRIC grants, which is our Building Resiliency Infrastructure Communities grants that are available. Next slide.
Yeah, they're the one who wins. There,
It's been iffy.
it is.
So a lot of times when I talk about hazard mitigation, we're really seeing how the hazard mitigation plan is becoming the center focal point for many of our endeavors that we do, especially in emergency management now. They're really starting to push at the federal level that mitigation. I've given the figures before. 20 years ago, it was $1 spent in mitigation, saving $4 recovery. That's pretty much doubled now, where you spend $1 mitigation, it almost saves you $8 to $10 in during recovery and build back. So it's really showing its worth to try to look forward and move forward with making our infrastructure stronger and making sure we take a good look at it. There's a lot of projects that we can do that will help us during any type of different disasters. So mitigation actually is kind of that center plan that looks at our response plans or our operational plans. And then it even looks at even some of our other master plans that we have, either that being the critical infrastructure plans that we have. And then on the potable water side, our urban management plans as well. Next slide. So why do we do mitigation? It helps us with our actions that we take. It's also very important that it makes our communities less vulnerable due to natural hazards, and mitigation focuses primarily on the natural hazards. A lot of times I get asked about cyber. Yes, we do look at it, but it's really about those natural disasters and what our infrastructure can or cannot do. So as we use mitigation funding to try to enhance and make our community stronger, that's really what we do with the development of this hazard mitigation plan. Next slide. So why and what has changed? So looking at our community hazards, FEMA did some updates to its requirements and its guidance last year in 2023, they went into effect. So it really wants us to have the community come alongside of us, look at what our risks are, take a good hard look at what our policies are, our procedures, what our infrastructure actually is, and then how can we actually take the right direction, put projects in place and move forward and implement that. And that's what we do with our mitigation planning. We look ahead, it's really a strategy plan. If you think about it, looking at not just now, but also for the next 5 years. That's what we're required to do, is update this plan every 5 years. Next one. So these are all the participating agencies that are part of the plan this time around. So basically every special district that is part of the WeRock agreement is part of this, except for a few small ones. And then also one agency that has their own plan at this point, so they opted not to join our multi-jurisdictional one. So next slide. So why prepare one? Again, reduces injury, loss of life is a big one, especially for flooding, property damage. Also taking a look at being able to access not just the brick grants, the infrastructure and communities grants. But also a lot of people are very familiar with our flood mitigation assistance grants. Orange County Public Works is always trying to get that, but we also can tap on those as well. Hazard mitigation, there are pre-disaster grants, there are competitive grants, but also following a disaster, there's opportunities if we are that impacted community. Sorry about that. We can apply hazard mitigation funding. There's different monies. We refer to them in emergency management world. They're known as 404 and 406. 406 funding comes post-disaster. Right now, watching the flooding happening in Northern California, and they are currently doing assessment of what damage we have, and if we will try to qualify for a public assistance grant from FEMA. If that happens, most likely there may be post-disaster hazard mitigation monies that may be opened up statewide. If that's the case, because we still have a current plan and those part of that plan would be able to apply for it. So next slide. So we have a lot of goals. I apologize as this is really small. So obviously we want to reduce our vulnerabilities. We want to make sure that we minimize our security risks, both our water and wastewater infrastructure. We want to minimize our interruptions of service. So we want to make sure that we can come back online as soon as probable. We want to eliminate any wastewater, recycled water spills and overflows as we can. So that's one area we look at to mitigate by improving our infrastructure. We want to protect water quality and supply. We also want to make sure we strengthen emergency response services. So those were the main goals that we were doing with this hazard mitigation plan. Next slide, please. So what we have done is we have crafted a draft plan. There is a overarching umbrella plan that's the MODOC plan, so that's my plan, and then underneath there is an annex for every agency that is involved. The reason why we do it that way is my plan looks at the regional and the county wide. So we look at the disasters and hazards that as we see them across the county. We did that looking at the county hazard mitigation plan and some of the planning that we do together. And then we would work, or we did work with every individual agency. And we built maps. You all have a brand new annex. Every agency got their own annex, and your hazards are specific to where you are in your area. For example, the hazards that are up here in Costa Mesa are very different for like South Coast Water District that's down in South Orange County. So we also asked the community to say, hey, what kind of disasters or hazards have you had impact with? What do you feel are some of our greatest risks? So we had them be part of that process too. So we took a look, obviously, depending on which jurisdiction it is and where you are, it could be coastal hazards that might impact some, including sea level rise, also tsunami, dam reservoir failure for those that own also the reservoirs, geological hazards, which is obviously if we have earthquakes and other subsidence issues that we have throughout the county. Human caused hazards, so if we have contamination, we also do have saltwater intrusion, hazardous materials that we have on site. Power outage, of course, is a big one because we are at the mercy of others and we depend on others for power. Cyber threat, we are still including terrorism. We will put a statement in it, even though this plan is specific to natural hazards. And then obviously, we look at severe weather being drought, extreme heat and windstorm. Also with wildland fire and also urban fire, because those are certain different hazards that have a unique impact on our infrastructure. One thing that we have done different this rendition is climate change is not just gonna have its own, we used to do it all on its own, kind of off on the side. Climate change exists. It's now been put in every hazard, so we are addressing it across, so we are hoping that FEMA will be very happy with that because we are looking at it from the standpoint of every hazard. Next slide, please. So countywide, this is the way it ranks. So what it does is it gives us a probability. So 4 is the highest probability, 1 is less often. But then it looks at what would the actual impact be, being at the affected area. And do we have any cascading impacts? For example, if we had an earthquake, secondary impact for us would be power outage that would affect our infrastructure. So looking at those different things, we put the rank. So these are kind of looking at the county as a whole. Then when you look at your annex for Costa Mesa Sanitary District, yours may look a little different because your risk and assessments are specific for this area where you provide service. So next slide. So now where we are currently at and how it's developed, we have it open for public review. Not only can they see your annex, but there are links that point back to where my annex is at, or I should say the base plan. It also then links out to a comments page. We did receive some positive feedback when we met with your citizen advisory council. They asked if we could enhance the goals for wastewater, which we have written down, and when we do the last draft, that will be next week. We'll prepare it, because what we want to do is have this into FEMA. by the end of the first week of December, and the goal is that, or not FEMA, excuse me, LOES, and our goal is to have CalVest provide comments so we can get to FEMA beginning of the year, with the targets to still get approved in March. If they are falling behind FEMA, if they have said they're a little behind, we will seek adoption, or we'll seek approval pending adoption, so if we don't get it back for all y'all to adopt it yet, there's 15 agencies that have to get through their boards. We will ask for that exemption letter, so it will still be approved, so people can start sinking their funding. Next slide, please. So, public participation, these are some of the ways, and General Manager Carroll's advised the different ways Costa Mesa Sanitary District is done. Via the website, also social media posts, so reaching out to all our consumers, I've also gone out and done a lot of different reach out, trying to get folks more involved, also social media. So that's kind of where we are currently at. We want to provide you an update so you know what those next steps will be. And I'll go ahead and entertain any questions.
I had a couple of really quick questions about, I'm not sure who would. In the staff report, Scott, it mentions our part of the fee is $11,800. Is that directly tied to the number of residents we serve?
No, what we did is, so usually if you do a revision of a hazard mitigation plan, it will cost you anywhere between $150,000 to $200,000 from a consultant. Because we have 15 agencies, the majority of our agencies are coming back, that's kind of the split fare.
It's funny because if you look at, we have 11,820 residences. And our participation is 11,800, and I thought it was directly tied, but obviously not. Second question is, by having a plan like this in place, could it help us with an SSO? In other words, if we have this plan in place, we're looking at it to use to get FEMA grants, but could it also demonstrate to the Water Resources Board that, hey, this agency has a plan, something disrupted that plan, and maybe our fine would be less, or are we still gonna get, there's no way of knowing, is there?
If the sewer spill is tied like to an earthquake, then there's potential, yes, but we have our own emergency plan for sewer spills.
Yeah.
And so we adhere to that, but could we seek federal money to help prevent SSOs? That's something I have to look in a little more. I don't know if we can, but again, if it was caused by an earthquake, yeah, then there is a relation to that, so absolutely.
Which was probably, again, you know, the matrices that you put up, earthquakes are, that's really our only major threat.
And it's interesting you can bring that up, sir, because you know, for like Orange County Public Works, they actually use, or we have a mitigation plan at the county, and we get to use that for the CRS, for the community rations or insurance and such. So if that can actually be used for specific for the district, that's a question that is being posed, and we'll see what we get back.
Good.
So that is one question.
So I would also say that power outages is as you saw on the list, that was the number one. You might recall in 2012, when San Diego, the entire region was blacked out because of a human error in parts of South Orange County. Because of that incident, that's why the board gave staff direction to go ahead and acquire all the generators. Because at that time, we did not have enough generators to power all our pump stations. Because of that incident, now we do. We are ready. If so, something like that happened in San Diego, happened in Orange County, we're ready.
And I think, as we know, when they get around to finding you, part of what they look at is your good faith efforts and all the things you have in your appendix, that you try to do a good job.
Yeah.
And this would all help us.
Just another quiver in the bow.
Yeah,
In
another arrow in the quiver.
Sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Vicki, you mentioned it a couple times in your presentation, but cyber, you said it's in there, but it wasn't a huge focus. Just curious, because that obviously nowadays could cause natural disasters. So I'm just wondering how that does play in this overall plan in our annex, because in today's world, that's happening.
So hazard mitigation looks more at natural disasters, where cyber is truly a man or human caused disaster, so that's part of the challenge. With what we have been seeing, so on the potable water side, with the American Water Infrastructure Act of 2018, we have to do risk assessment for cyber. They haven't, at EPA, and that's at national level, have not implemented that on wastewater yet. They keep saying it's coming, and that was 5 years ago, so we're still waiting to see what's gonna happen with that, that's future to come. However, with different legislation and such that has come out, the state has formed because there is a group on the East Coast that oversees us with that, so the CISA Group for Critical Infrastructure. Security Advisory Group, they kind of oversee cyber. And they have put some funding money together, and they will give that to the state of California, to the governor's office of emergency services, to their cyber team. They actually have formed a task force, they asked me to be on it, so we actually have our 30 meeting in 2 weeks. So part of that is developing kind of how that money will be rolled out. One of the challenges that we have is with a lot of small agencies that also have disadvantaged communities or rural interfaces, a lot of times that funding goes there first, and that's just how it's been in California for ever, as long, I've been doing this almost 30 years, and it's been that way for a long time. So that's one of the challenges that we have, so I will know more about that in a couple of weeks, and I'll be able to report more out on that. In regards to if something were to happen here, there are certain ways that we can, we rock, and I work with the Fusion Center, that's our terrorism center, and also with the state to help monetary wise, so you don't have to spend a lot of money, we can bring in Department of Homeland Security resources for free and help with the mitigation and investigation, so I always like to present that up to remind folks to go ahead and use that service. But that is still a piece in progress. At one point, there was an injunction put on CISA to say, hey, until you figure out what you want to do or how this is really gonna roll out, please don't require and put unfunded mandates on all the agencies nationwide. So we're learning more and more what cyber is gonna be. The cyber's out there. I can tell you, in the past 3 years, we probably had 11 of our agencies, just here in Orange County, that's water, wastewater, that have had some sort of incident. Not that they've had a full blown attack, but they have had an incident.
No doubt. All right. Thank you for that, Vicky. And,
Sure.
and then turn probably back to Scott, you had mentioned, but it was also in the staff report, the CAC had identified generators. Can you, and going through the annex, I just wasn't sure, were some of their concerns and suggestions addressed in the annex?
Their biggest concern was the new AQMD rules are coming down where we're gonna requiring that it's gonna be difficult for us to acquire diesel generators. But that was their big concern, and so Vicky and I, we explained to them there are some options, we do have a generator in our inventory that's on natural gas. We did look at hydrogen, but right now, I think we're still okay buying diesel generators, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's gonna get harder and harder. And I think that's what CAC was concerned about, is making sure that we can still acquire those generators. When their life expectancy is up, we have to replace them.
Got it. Thank you.
A good question. But public comments that we put out to our citizens, did we get what kind of feedback?
The only feedback we got is from the Citizens Advisory Committee, nothing else from the public.
But I did notice on our Facebook presence, you guys did put something on there to respond.
Yes.
So hopefully. Robert,
Dealing with FEMA, do you have a background in FEMA?
I have a background from the county of Orange, so I worked at the sheriff's department for 25 years, and part of mine was being part of 12 federal declarations with FEMA. So I am quite familiar with the work.
I think that's important. And dealing with the federal government for FEMA funds, are there templates for the smaller agencies who have never done that before? Or is there expertise to help them?
So there is the same application for everybody, big or small, doesn't matter. It's about a 42-page application where you have to do a business cost analysis. And you have to provide your budget, you have to provide what your project is or write up for it. There is technical assistance that can be requested through the state. The state, Cal OES is actually very helpful, and they want to pass through money. They want to give it, because at the end of the day, it makes us more resilient. And that's what we're trying to get to, is being able to survive whatever. If we have flooding, if it's wildland fire, if it's earthquakes, whatever it is, because that helps the state if we can help ourselves. There is technical assistance that can be requested. I also have filled out some applications, so I have helped. And some of the agencies, I know if you ask, they would help. We have some agencies that have been very successful in getting mitigation funding, and they're very good about helping each other.
Yeah, they're probably the bigger agencies. Anyway, I think anything We Rock is involved in, and you also would get my vote.
I appreciate that, thank you, sir.
Funny you say that with, you know, I used to do flood insurance policy, obviously, same thing, whether it's a small risk or a big risk.
No.
Everybody had to do the 15-page application, and it was, just don't put a Trump sign in his car.
Oh,
That's for my.
No comments.
I have one more question, Scott. With the pre-disaster mitigation, do you have to fill out that 40-page form first?
Yes.
And have that on record? Okay. So
Yeah.
Have we done that?
Not yet, we have to wait till the plan's adopted.
Yeah, we have plans adopted.
Yeah.
In order to seek that mitigation funding, you have to have an approved plan, and the way you're seeing disaster increase or such, I will start seeing even other programs like the FEMA Public Assistance, which is for local government after we have a disaster, it's a grant program. If folks don't have a hazard mitigation plan, I bet you, I'm betting one, you probably won't be able to get funding, we're gonna start seeing a bigger turn actually. But yeah, you can't start the project until you get approved, if you start it, then that will make you ineligible to get funding.
So we have to wait.
Yes.
Okay. that was-
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we can
I,
keep working on
yeah, I
it.
understand. I understand.
Well, as always, thank you.
Yes.
All the pleasure
You
and
make
appreciate it.
things so easy for us.
Mm.
This is a receive and file for us.
Yes, we're just seeking comments from the board and the plan.
And then eventually you'll be back.
We're back in probably in spring, Vicky, you're probably thinking spring with adoption.
I hope that maybe if you like, after we hear Thomas from CalOS, if you want me back to talk through those, I can, just so you understand that next box that when we turn to FEMA and what the adoption or approval pending adoption of that actually. is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Whenever you need, I'm always happy to show up.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Vicky.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Vicky. All right, next item, authorization, continuing with a resolution on Southwest Plaza.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. So this project is still ongoing. The pipe it has not been replaced at this point. We are still on the design phase. We have done some preliminary work, like installing dewatering wells, because the water is so high, we have to get the levels down so we can at least try to remove it. Mark has been diligently meeting with South Coast Plaza staff on a constant basis and trying to appease their requests. And we've done everything we can at this point. We really want to stay out of the hair now because of the holiday seasons. This is their busiest time of the year. So we are going to stay out of the hair for the remainder of this year. But Mark is still going to continue working on designs and still communicate with South Coast Plaza on the designs, with hopefully construction to start in January. But because we still consider this an emergency, we do need you to, there's a couple of items we need you to approve tonight. And again, if you want more information about it, Mark is available to answer questions, provide some more information. But tonight, we still need you to, two things. We need you to adopt project number 355, South Coast Plaza Emergency Sewer Replacement as statutory exempt under the California Environmental Quality Act as an emergency project, and then approve authorizing continuation of resolution number 2024-997. So again, Mark and myself are able to answer the questions you have.
I'll move for continuation of resolution number 24-997. And the second one, that adopt project 355 SCP emergency sewer replacement as a statutory exception in the California Environmental Quality sequel. That's my two.
We do the sequel one first.
I did that second. You said have to.
We want to see one first. You do the
Okay,
sequel one
I'll do
first.
it first.
Motion, do we have a second?
I said.
What we're doing, heading to all, All right, so, on the adopt project number 355, any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimous.
And second was continuation of resolution number 2024-997.
Second. Thank you. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work, boys.
Thank you.
Bob?
A separate question, Mark. South Coast Plaza is they're incurring some bit of cost through this project.
I can't speak to what kind of costs they're incurring because, the biggest thing is getting their deliveries on time to the merchant.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not impacting them from I don't believe we're impacting them from a sales perspective. And we're doing most of our work at night when the mall is closed, so it's sort of like Disneyland where all the workers come out at night and do stuff, and then at 8 o'clock in the morning, everybody disappears.
Another question. Are they reimbursing us or helping us with the cost?
Not at this point, right now, we're still trying to finalize what those costs are, so, once we're confident with those numbers. Which is gonna probably close to maybe $2 million we're thinking about, then we'll go to Southwest Plaza Management and share those numbers. And I'm hoping they would pay, I'm gonna ask for 50% of the reimbursement.
Did you already have contact with them about that possibility?
Yes, but they want to see better numbers. They want to see, but they don't like surprises, right? They don't want us to say, well, it's gonna cost you $1 million. Oh, by the way, we come back a month later, I'm sorry, it's gonna cost you $1.5 million, right? They want a surety what the numbers are gonna be.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Double check.
Yes.
Yeah, it's hard because it's a chicken and egg scenario. We don't know enough and we're not really doing detailed design as we normally do. And so without that, it's hard to give a real detailed estimate, which is what they're asking for.
Let's hope it's a good shopping season that's out there.
Trying to drive by.
No, I don't go there.
No, I mean, they get $15 million a year in property tax to the city, so I.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know what percentage that is, but it.
Well, hopefully the Amazon drivers will all go on strike. And that way people have to go to the stores. Wow. Let's not go to this. Okay, you're right, the way I shop now.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on that item?
No.
Thank you. Engineers report. Mr. Esker.
Yeah, hopefully I'm brief. I guess the biggest thing is I wanna advise the board that we've added 10 more projects for this year. And then one of the projects, the harbor generator will probably change to something different, more like an overflow. And that's just to give our staff time before, in order to respond and deal with any issues over at Harbor Pump Station. But if you'd like me to go over in detail any projects, and perhaps at the next study session or sometime in the January, February study session, I'd be happy to go over any new projects in detail for you. Other than that, I'm assuming you've read the report, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them at this time.
About the harbor generator,
Yes, sir.
where did you, is that placed there permanently?
No, we don't have a place for generator. That's one of the issues that we have. There's not really a good location for an emergency generator. I am looking at I will say response times during the day and response times in the evening. And then we'll make a final determination, but I think it might be less expensive proposal just to add an overflow to the gravity sewer that we have in Harbor Boulevard, and that would give ample time to do anything we need to do out there.
Is that pump station, is that the one in Wilson?
Yes,
Okay.
Right in front of the market.
yes, in front of, well, yeah, right next to, it's probably more in front of the hotel, apartment complex there.
Are you looking at, say, battery backup or something to extend the, response times?
Yes, our general manager sent me some information. Orange County Sanitation has been looking at Tesla battery packs at some of their locations. I guess they've done quite a bit of that in plant. And so we're looking at that as well, but again, when we look at the cost of some of that, we're gonna have to compare some alternatives before we move forward on anything. But those are definitely things that we're looking at.
Very good. Other questions for Mark? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Mr. Davis is not with us this evening, so, Counselor, anything for us this evening, sir?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to bring to your attention
new law that I sent you a memo on recently. It's 80-2257. Just so when it comes up in your other meetings, you'll kind of have a little familiarity with it. We're gonna have to digest this and give you a recommendation in the future, but basically, on your Prop 218, as you know, we have a 45-day postcard notice, and then we hold a hearing, and it's a written protest, and protests don't exceed 50%, then it fails, and you can do what you want. Some people have tried to sue based on their assessments, and for a while, the argument was statute of limitations, and then also administrative remedies where you had to participate in the hearing like you have to with most things, to be have standing to bring the lawsuit. And in this Plantier case versus Ramona Water District, they said, no, that's not necessarily true. So I believe it was Aqua that's behind this, and they've developed this new law that you can adopt, and if you implement it and follow it, then you can get additional protections from being sued for your Prop 218 rates. And basically, what they layer on to the existing procedure is you have to give another 45 days notice for objections. Besides the protest, you have to allow for objections. If they file the objections, then you have to provide a written response. There has to be a substantive written response, and you have to provide a written record of the response and how you responded to what they raised. So that would be something that would be your obligation. And then if you do that and comply with the other requirements, then there's a limit on what can be in the record, what evidence can be reviewed by the court. And it's all meant to be favorable to the agency. This was an agency-driven bill. But the problem is, it could work out well, or it could work out against you if you had a certain kind of a person that was just trying to come up the works all the time and objecting and filing things. And it requires this extra layer of due process and extra analysis and extra findings, and then there's extra legal proceedings at the end. And so we're really gonna have to look at whether it's a sword or a shield, and just how well it would work for us. So that's all coming, but you'll probably hear some of this in some of your other meetings you go to, and we'll try and get this sorted out in the next few months.
Question. Does that affect the timing of when we do the 45 days, or does it have to be wrong?
Yes, it will. It'll back you up. Yeah,
Will we have to do it certain earlier?
yes. Yeah, that's exactly what you all can do.
Should we plan on that for the next?
Well, I think we need to get this law figured out before backing it up. The most conservatively, we have to get it figured out next few months about whether this is gonna be something that we wanna pursue or not. And I'm not sure we'll end up recommending it to you, but we'll certainly do a pros and cons risk analysis.
Are you gonna give us the recommendation when you research it?
Well, research.
Are you gonna give us the recommendation
Yes,
once you
yes,
research it?
yes, sure will.
Anything else, sir?
No, that's it, Mr. President. Thank you.
Nice.
Except for happy Thanksgiving.
To you as well. Okay, local meetings, Orange County Sanitation, meeting.
Yeah, we had a board meeting a week ago Wednesday due to the holidays, and there were a lot of projects. A very long meeting. Basically, plant number 2 is subject to some of what Vicky was mentioning in plans, sea level rise and tsunamis, and so they're going to have to build a wall, a stronger wall at the end of plant number 2. There were a lot of miscellaneous projects, clarifiers and digesters. There's a legislative update. They're involved in hiring a lot of consultants to help them with various parts of what they do, planning, mainly around CFP projects. There was a very interesting topic on design build. They're going to begin, the board, I believe, gave approval to begin hiring a design build advisor. For a lot of money. I think it was $19 million for X number of years. And then there was a very, very long closed session. BKK is, looking for help. All the hazardous materials that various agencies have put in there. And there but hundreds of agencies, and they're all trying to figure out, what might be at stake cost-wise for them. And then they're doing the employee negotiations, and, that's basically it.
Thank you. Sir?
Okay. We had a meeting last Thursday. I mean, this is a full agency meeting, just not the executive committee. So we had a presentation by James Tyler, NC Public Works. He discussed the progress of the Santa Ana mainstream and the Westminster project status. Prado Dam spill will be completed in 2025 with a cost of $1.35 billion. After completion, there will be a 5-year monitoring by the Corps of Engineers. Then there will be a closeout of the project. So they have 5 years after they completed the monitoring. There's still being work done on Reach 5 of the Santa Ana River. The project is raising the height of the levee by 3 more feet because the county had a backup level behind the levee. Then they sold that to the prison. Then the prison knocked it down and made a parking lot. So now, of course, you have to build it up 3 more feet. So this project is still going on in Reach 5. Kind of nuts, but. And so they have secondary got knocked down, or it's unsafe, needed to be built up 3 additional feet, the cost of about $3 million. It will take about 1 year to complete. It's just an earth moving project, but the cost will be paid by the Corps of Engineers. Utilities behind Prado Dam. Most of them are owned by Edison Company. The cost is well over $2 million, and Edison is requesting that money, but the county is giving them 0. Pay for it and they move it by themselves. And but we didn't have any additional information on the Westminster Garden Grove project. Great.
Maybe your report on this meeting.
On the stuff, they're trying to get things going to get more members attending, and they're trying to change the calendars on it. We're trying to switch over to in person, which will come very shortly. But right now it's been nice because it's just been a Zoom, but they'll be changing it. So on that, and then should I say the others?
You want to do CSDA?
Yeah, CSDA. We are just getting the new members on our board, just getting to know them, and we're trying to see, where we can place them. And they're getting ready for in the fall. They're going to go to Monterey, which is my favorite place, and that will be where we'll be having the next one. I also let them know that most of us on the southern end of it, they put up with the last golf tournament, we were disappointed that we feel that if you're going to keep it where it's at, that it should be early in the morning, like 7 in the morning that you start, because it was very hard and hot on everybody. So I did my little number on that, and that was it. They talked about the conference itself and how good it was, and the speakers that were there and so forth. That was that. And then what else did I have? Oh, and then of course I went to the Orange County Sanitation District, just like some of you did. And that was really interesting because there were so many people there, and there was a lot to learn. And
Says he's
then
watching
too, from different
So she's watching it live.
Okay.
I think that's about it. Where's my-
Thank you very much. For SDR May, we did have a board meeting
Comments to them.
recently. A lot of reporting stuff, investment reports, stuff like that, We did have a legislative update from our CSDA guy, Aaron. Whatever, nothing really significant. Other meetings, as you all know, I'm the ISDOC representative on the Orange County Council of Governments Board of Directors. And generally, those meetings are pretty mundane, but that's the word I'm gonna use. Last meeting, last Thursday was really heated. We had a report from the the South Coast Air Quality Management District. And it had to do with building appliances and new rules and incentives that are coming for building appliances. Apparently, our region does not meet national air standards for NOx, oxides of nitrogen, okay? So under federal law, we have to comply with these new laws. And by 2037, our area has to cut NOx emissions over 67%. That means that we have to, or that our region's gonna have to require a zero emission technology to replace combustion wherever feasible. And under these two projects, the rules are PAR 1111 and PAR 1121. All residential and commercial space heating and water heating will have to be electric.
Wow.
Stock up on your Columbus now.
As you can imagine, these city reps on OCOG, especially certain ones, went absolutely ballistic. I mean, they were yelling at this this lady from South Coast Air Quality, man. And finally, Chairman Wagner had to say, look, she's just the messenger, you know?
Just California.
This is our area, Southern California,
But it's a fed,
it's a federally driven program.
it might be changing.
Yeah, so.
I sat there and I had that exact same thought.
Yeah.
That these guys might be looking at something changing. Now, what, I don't know if it's gonna have an impact on us, but I would say as we look at putting in generators, we may have to look at electric or non-combustible generators. So just a kind of but like I said, these meetings are generally wake up, and it was really heated. I mean, it was kind of fun. So that's OCOG.
Well, California is, don't they have legislation on changing, making all stoves electric and so on and so on?
You know, it's funny with this report that she was giving, they didn't say that they would phase it in with new construction. They're saying
Cross.
change it.
Wow.
I mean, you gotta get rid of your gas stove, right? They were talking about heating systems in your home. And apparently they want everybody to go to what's called a heat pump system. And we have a heat pump system in our RV, for example. And it's all electric, and it turns your air conditioning into a heater is what it does. And it's far more efficient. But they were talking about what the cost would be to retrofit a home to make it electric. You're talking anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000. Especially when it comes to HVAC and stuff like that.
In today's dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what they'll be in $20,000-$37 or Bitcoins or whatever.
Did they have Edison there?
But that,
Did they have Edison? there?
oh, funny you should say that, because that was several representatives kept saying to this lady from South Coast Air Quality Management, what did Edison have to say? She says, she answered it 3 times. Edison is aware of the situation. And they said, well, that doesn't answer the question.
Yeah.
What are they doing
Yeah,
about the
yeah.
grid? Edison is aware of the situation. So I think Edison's not really in the program yet. Those are
Elon might eliminate this from the federal government and his efficiency goals, so.
I kept thinking the same thing, you know, we're entering into a new administration with a whole different perspective. Why are you doing this stuff now, are you?
She probably doesn't speak to the legislative council,
I'm
but she may get a chance.
She may get
Well, somebody would.
Anyway, so get ready for that, folks. All right, any other meetings, anybody else?
Well, the Waco meeting was, early in the month, and basically it was, LA County, MWD and LA County Sand District's called, the Pure Water Project, which is, 150 MGD, GWS type project at Carson. And, they intend to, the big difference between when GWS was created and now is there's legislation where they could take that kind of treated water and put it right into the water system. So they'll also take that water and put it in various groundwater basins and or run it through their these two major treatment plants, water treatment plants. And potentially connect it directly to various city water programs, and it's 150 MGD, and the goal is to create another new water supply. It's a project, I forget how many years it is, it's a long ways out. I'll probably be great by the time it's done.
You're good right now. Yep. Hopefully not.
No,
Hopefully not.
no, I came to LA for LA County Sand District, so I know about that. Anyway. Fun project, technically.
All right, oral communications director comments. I'll start off by wishing you luck, Mr. Eccles. This is your last official board meeting. We'll see you at the study session, but thank you for your diligence. We've always counted you to keep an eye on things, and your attention to detail is really good. We've appreciated that. Like you always say, we don't always agree, but at least we walk away with a respect and admiration. I think we all have that for you. Thank you for your service to the district. Certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll give it to you.
And I was gonna say, but if allowable, the study session, I just had like 1 minute, but I thank you for those words and as my last official board meeting though, but we'll get one more. Maybe I can say a few things then, but thank you all and thank you all. And I just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and then I'll have to wish people Merry Christmas at the next one. So the way our society is though, they roll right back to back anyway, so thank you.
Thanks, bro. Anything else? Happy Thanksgiving. You too. Don't forget, you gotta come back to work on Monday. Right? Is that the second?
Yes,
No.
the first,
Second.
the second.
December 2nd is Monday.
So the Christmas party and the board study session is the 10th.
The 17th is the Christmas party.
Oh, that's what I said, 17th.
Yeah,
And the.
maybe second guessing.
Election results, are they?
They're not official yet.
What do they have, like 14 votes to count?
We have a date. They have to meet it by, so,
December
December.
4th, I think.
yep, so we have a few more days, another week.
December 4th is the day?
Yeah.
And they actually 30,000, but to divide that by 30 it's not.
We'll have a council race up.
It's not close.
Which is the Harlan Pettis race is like inches away.
How many?
82 as of.
Yeah, it's probably not counting.
Yes,
It's
it's
not
Pettis
down
and
to one.
they-
Pettis ahead by 82, yeah.
Yeah,
It goes down one at a time.
How is Michelle Steele one?
She's losing.
She's losing.
Yeah.
Still
Still a couple races out there.
yeah, with the race you're talking about, it's been 75 votes for a long time.
Yeah.
It's not changing fast.
Well, it went from 9 to 7, but.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I watch live on every. My name's on there.
As long as we don't see a trash can somewhere.
Yep,
like
send it.
balance.
I never mentioned Millards.
Hey.
I need them to sign it. I don't want it to go anywhere. It's in my.
We'll grab it.
I can catch my,
I think you could probably concede your race if you haven't already.
well, mentally I am.
All right, anything else, staff? Anybody, any other comments?
No.
Happy Thanksgiving and
Thank you.
bunch. We're adjourned.
Thank you.